Don't you love Opryland coffee? It really works. Good morning. That was an unbelievable introduction. I'm humbled, and I'm just so grateful that you read it exactly how I wrote it. Thank you so much. See, what she left out in all those, introduction things, and what you're about to hear, warning. You're about to witness the rantings of a short, bald, half-neutered, chemoed, radiated, surgically repaired, retired male figure skater of unknown ethnic origin. I was on my way over here today, and I was listening to the radio, and I love Christian radio because it just kind of keeps you going. It gets you up. It makes you feel good. And I heard the radio host, they were talking to different people, and they were telling their stories, and he goes, yeah, you know what? My mess is always in my message, right? My mess is always in my message. And it struck me because that's kind of like what this whole second act is all about. My mess is in my message. So, I talked to you a few years ago. You got the whole backstory. But I want to talk more about what happened right at the time that I was diagnosed and why I'm standing here right now. When I was touring with Stars on Ice, right, I had a childhood illness that put me in skating, and skating gave me my health back, and blah, blah, blah. And then I get into this thing where there was no jobs for male figure skaters back then, so I had to kind of find a way to create a job, and so we started Stars on Ice. And it gave me kind of like the perfect job. And so 20 years of, of professional skating, but the years that I was with Stars on Ice were extraordinary, and then I got diagnosed with cancer. And I just thought, I can't have cancer because I'm booked. I'm too busy. So this is crazy. So at that time in my life, I realized that I'd put so much into my skating and so much into kind of those minutes that I was in front of 20,000 people instead of the times that I was sitting in a room with one or two. I knew how to relate to, a large group, but I didn't know how to really relate to somebody one-on-one. And so I really felt like in a relationship, I was kind of toxic. So the thing I did, my first thing I did in my survivorship is I decided to go away and figure out a way to heal myself and to get back to where I needed to be, to the person that God designed me to be, to do the things that I really needed to do. And so I went to the one place in the United States where I could be alone, ignored, isolated, and left to my own devices. Do you know where that place is? Close. No, New York's a community, all right? But Los Angeles, California, where the walls, the hedges, and the fences are higher than any other city in the United States. And it was great because I was able to kind of heal and to kind of figure out who I was. And I knew that I wasn't ready to, to be in a relationship or anything because I just wasn't formed yet. I knew the cancer exposed that. And that was one of the brilliant things about cancer. And I knew in my survivorship, in my second act, in, this life that I was given, I lost my mother to cancer. 20 years later, I survived. What am I going to do with this? And so I got to work in the cancer community. We created C.A.R.E.S. Now C.A.R.E.S is a big part of this celebration. And it's just such an honor to be able to share all the things that we've accomplished so far. And now where we're going to be able to go in the relaunch of the C.A.R.E.S platform. But it still wasn't enough. I knew that there was something else out there. And so I met this girl after 2 years of kind of healing. And I was kind of feeling like I needed to kind of, stick my toe in the water a little bit and kind of figure out if I'm still dangerous or not. And so I met this girl, and she was kind of spectacular. And it was like, wow, this is everything I've ever wanted in somebody that's humble and just has a beautiful spirit and loves people. And I could tell just in the few minutes that I spent when I first met her that this is the type of woman I'd like to spend my life with, never thinking I'd see her again. Well, a few months later, I'm playing golf with a friend, and who had her there as his guest at one of the ice shows. And he said, I said, you know, whatever happened to that girl, Tracy? And he goes, oh, she's actually, I think, moving to LA this week. Really? So it was soon after she moved to LA, we went on our first date, and we've been together ever since. That's power. That is power. So the first thing she did was save me from myself. She saved me. She brought me to the Lord, and that was the greatest thing she ever could have given me. And then when we got married, the day we got married, she looked at me and she said, today is a great day to get married. And it's like, guy, right? Yeah, it's beautiful. It's just what a great day. She goes, no, it's a great day to get married. And I go, yeah, I mean, I can remember this date. I won't forget our anniversary. You see, I had testicular cancer, so the last thing I was thinking about was, like, today's a great day to get married. Well, 9 months and 2 days later, my son was born. And being adopted, I'd never seen flesh of my own flesh before. So I'm looking square into my own eyes. And it was the most powerful, beautiful thing I'd ever seen. And, he was growing, and, I was a father. And I went back out on the road with Stars and Ice, and I didn't like it. I wanted to be home. I didn't want to be one of those dads that had to look to his wife to understand why his child was crying, or had to look to his wife to know what your child was thinking. And I was 6 months into my son's life, and I'm on the road with Stars and Ice, and I'm on the center stage at Madison Square Garden, my favorite building in the world, and I'm skating, and I'm really enjoying the audience, and I'm thinking, this is so over. I'm done. 20 years is a great number to stop on. And I was still skating. I could still get over on the backflip, and I was still being okay, and audiences were still responding very well. So it wasn't totally pathetic, but I knew that I wanted to be home. And I saw his first steps. I saw all these things, and it was just beautiful. It was amazing. And he was about, I guess he was coming up on 14 months old. And I'm hosting my cancer benefit in Cleveland, and I knew something was wrong because I just lost passion. I thought maybe I was depressed because I'd stopped skating and I'd lost the juice from all those people and all that stuff. But I knew something was wrong, and I'll tell anybody that listens that you have to be responsible to your health. If you feel something's going on, get it checked out right away. The sooner you find something, the better the overall result, and the quicker you can get back to life. So I've been preaching this for all this time since my cancer survivorship. So I thought maybe I should practice what I preach. So I went and I interrogated my physician at the Cleveland Clinic. And he goes, well, you're getting older, and these things can happen. Well, then what about this? Well, you've gotten off the ice and your fitness levels have changed. Well, what about this? Well, Why is my peripheral vision gone? Okay, that's a good question. So that day, my family was going to be arriving from Nashville to Cleveland. And that day I had a head scan, and that day they told me I had a brain tumor. I'm lucky in cards too. I can't have a brain tumor. I did chemo. I did all that stuff. I paid my health dues. I get a pass now, right? For a long time. They go, no, you got a brain tumor, and we got to do something with it. So when I told Tracy that the news, she, without skipping a beat, grabbed both of my hands and started to pray, and it was the single most powerful moment in my life. And I realized from that moment forward, I knew where I was going to take everything. A week later, they finally had to go into do a biopsy. Now, here's what they tell you when you're having a brain biopsy. How many people here have had a brain biopsy? Okay, I'm the only one. So, and that's a very good thing. So they tell me that they're gonna, I'm gonna be put under, and they're going to drill a hole in my head. There's a little scar right there, and then they're gonna go down into my brain and take a piece of the brain tumor, and then try to figure out what it is, so they know how to treat it. Right? They said what can happen is you could lose speech, you could lose muscle movement, you could lose memory, blah 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 blah. You could have all these bad things happen to you, and it's like, are you sure we have to do this? And they said, yeah. So they did the biopsy, and I woke up. It was 10:20 in the morning. I knew who I was, where I was, why I was there, and I went, test. Oh, I can still speak. This is great. Okay, that's good. So the doctor comes around the corner smiling. My wife comes around the corner smiling, and they go, we know what it is. And I go, what is it? And then my neurosurgeon said, it's a craniopharyngioma. What's a lunatic pharyngioma? And he said, no, this is great. We know how to treat this. And it's like, okay, let's get this party started. I've had this party before. Let's go and have this party again. And my wife came around, and they gave her this stuff. And she said, this is really interesting. And I said, what is it? And she said, craniopharyngiomas are usually found early in life due to a lack of growth and development. Oh, see, if you live long enough, all questions will be answered. That's what inhibited my growth as a child. And now, for whatever reason, it was doing its mischief again. I had radiation, got back to life. It was extraordinary. So I'm back working, and then 2010 came. 2010 was an unbelievable year because that was the year my brain tumor came back. And that was the year that Haiti suffered that devastating earthquake. So our house was like, my wife's heart was shattered when Haiti suffered that terrible earthquake. And she wanted to serve so desperately. And then my brain tumor came back. And there was just all this kind of desperation in my household of, there's all this stuff going on in the world and what's happening. And then the brain tumor came back, and we had to face it. And this time, I couldn't do radiation again. This time, it was surgery. And the one surgery turned into 8 more. It was a long story. I can't get into it. But basically, there was a little complication from the first one that caused an aneurysm, which they couldn't figure out what to do with. And so finally, on the 8th angiogram, they were able to repair the aneurysm, and I was able to get back to life.